understand why we are not making better use of aquaculture at the present time, one needs to look at the cultural background, the human cultural background in which we're attempting to develop aquaculture.
Culture has played an important role in the development of aquaculture in Hawaii, where the government takes an active role in promoting it. But among states, Hawaii is the exception, not the rule. One of Hawaii's more important investments is the Anuenue Hatchery. State employees raise juvenile freshwater prawns here and give them to Hawaiians wishing to privately raise them. Commitment to aquaculture in this state begins with Governor George Ariyoshi.
Because we have made an assessment of the kind of state that we are and the kind of state that we want Hawaii to be at some point in the future. And as we look at the kind of state we want Hawaii to be, we have determined that tourism is going to be a very important part. It is today and will be. But in order for it to be that important, we feel that we have to look at Hawaii being kept a very nice place. And many years ago in Hawaii, we had many Hawaiian fish ponds that were in existence. And the aquaculture is, in a sense, a return to the old life, to bring back some of the natural beauties, that qualities that have existed here in our community. And we believe that it is in keeping with the idea of making Hawaii a place where we retain a lot of the environmental, natural beauty, natural qualities of our state. At the same time, these things produce dollars and jobs to the citizens of our community.
Partly because of the governor's commitment, freshwater prawns have become an important local product. Hawaiians harvested nearly $2 million worth in 1983. The state of Hawaii has been eager to see small-scale aquaculture develop. They've encouraged landowners to build ponds and have given them educational materials and practical training. Despite a few isolated success stories like prawns in Hawaii and catfish in Mississippi, commercial aquaculture hasn't really taken off in the United States. Some proponents of aquaculture, expecting more rapid growth in this industry, blame state and federal government indifference for what they see as the failure of aquaculture in the United States. For example, they say the lengthy and costly permit process is a deterrent. Seeking a more favorable climate for their aquaculture investments, many American companies have chosen to look outside the boundaries of the United States. The Ralston Purina Company, for example, has moved its entire shrimp operation from Florida to Panama. Its decision to do so was based on several factors. The political climate is better. Panama is less stringent in its regulatory demands. The physical climate is better too. The company can now raise shrimp year-round, rather than seasonally, as was the case in Florida. Another major reason for making the move was the availability of cheap labor in Panama. One of the keys to Ralston's success in Panama has been its shrimp feed. The company has developed a nutrient-rich mixture of grains that holds together well in the water and is easy for shrimp to find and eat. At the time of harvest, Panamanians release water from the ponds. This swirling seawater carries the shrimp into waiting nets. Ralston Purina has constructed 1,500 acres of shrimp ponds near the town of Agua Dulce, Panama. More are being built. The company produced 3 million pounds of shrimp from these facilities last year, employing about 200 Panamanians in the process. Their aggressive expansion program is based on what company officials see as a very profitable new source of shrimp for the lucrative North American market. To Panama, this aquaculture operation means jobs, new industrial development, and more money coming into the country. Many developing countries are eager for such foreign investments. But the head of the United Nations-supported International Rice Institute, M.S. Swaminathan, cautions developing nations to see that some of the profits stay at home.
Commercial companies. If the local people will be used only as daily paid wage earners, then they will suffer, because the women and children will have less nutrition and so on. On the other hand, if there is a producer-oriented marketing, if the total income goes up, then, you know, they can use some of the money for food, some for better clothing, a little bit of better housing and hygiene and so on. So we require both food and money, and I will not say that any project in design for export purposes is wrong, provided the benefit from the additional income also go to some of the poorer sections. So long as we use that as the yardstick, then I think modern technology is indispensable and is important for converting natural resources into wealth. But whether that wealth then adds to human happiness or to human sorrow is a matter which is not related to technology, but related to the other policies of the people who administer those projects.
The people who administer these aquaculture projects in Panama have encouraged foreign investments because of the jobs and money they bring. But they have also seen aquaculture as a potential new source of food for the country's rural people. Richard Preta was one such official. He was educated in the techniques of aquaculture at Auburn University in Alabama and has taken what he learned there and adapted it to his rural mountainous homeland. The Guaymi Indians live in remote mountain villages and scattered huts, some more than 4 hours from the nearest road. They used to subsist on a diet of plant roots and insects. When cattle were introduced to this region, forests were cut, and the Guaymi settled down, grazing cattle on the steep mountain slopes. But the bare mountains eroded under heavy rains, and the land became impoverished. Preto and his staff helped the Guaymi build small fish ponds and manage the water that flows across their land.
We have approached aquaculture in an integrated way. It really means more than placing the emphasis in fish culture is the management of water.
Today, the Indians practice polyculture, adapting the ancient Chinese methods to the rugged realities of Panama. Water from the hillsides is diverted through pig pens and chicken coops. Animal manure fertilizes the pond water, where the Guaymi raise carp as well as an African fish called tilapia. The rich runoff passes through the ponds and is then used to irrigate vegetables. Periodically, the Guaymi harvest the ponds. It's been said that aquaculture will never feed the world's hungry people because it takes too much energy to produce each pound of fish. But this system works. Its success is based on integrating watershed management techniques with livestock, fish, and vegetable production. The solar energy which drives the system is free. It stimulates plant production on the hillside. Livestock eat the plants. Their manure transfers the energy to the pond, where hardy carp and tilapia convert it to food for the Guaymi. The 4 ponds in this settlement can be expected to yield 5,000 pounds of fish for the Indians to eat each year. Before aquaculture was introduced to this settlement, the Indians had never cleaned or eaten fish, had never tasted a tomato.